There really is something about self-help books that really brings in a bit of a conundrum. And let's be real, who hasn't picked up a book like that for that magic bullet to fix all your problems? After all, we're constantly told that these books have some kind of value to them. The fact that apparently these books have the answer to all of our problems, but you just have to find the right book. But here's the thing that I've been thinking about, and maybe you have been too. What if the trick to reading these books isn't about actually reading them and changing, but to make you feel like you had enough of an impact to keep reading more self-help books? Okay, confession time. I have a ton of self-help books in my catalog. It's always the same cycle. You feel like you're gonna do this massive change in your life, you read this book, and you know what? You feel like, yes, I can do it. You feel that motivation and you're ready to get started. But give it a few days and what happens? You might try implementing maybe one of those things, maybe two if we're lucky. The alarming part is you'll probably have moved on to the next self-help book because people tell you to keep reading them. And of course, it's always the waiting game until the next big self-help book comes out, and then this one has the real secret this time, right? At the end of the day, these self-help books are trying to give you this revolutionary new framework to solve everything, and in reality, they're just trying to push this one-size-fits-all narrative that just simply can never work. The thing is, a lot of these books kind of do the same things, right? I remember reading one that just said, follow your passions. When you think about it, a lot of these books do have these vague platitudes in a lot of ways. Another reason that oftentimes these books kind of fail is that they'll give you inspiration, but inspiration isn't really a strategy. Once you're inspired and motivated, it will mask a lot of the problems related to whatever it is you're trying to solve, but no matter how much inspiration you have, until you have a proper strategy, you're really not going to get anywhere. The real change comes from boring, tedious changes to your life. And those things often aren't going to be very exciting. And when it comes to making that true change, you're probably going to give up. Now, what's funny is that Atomic Habits actually does talk about this in a chapter, so kudos to them for actually trying. Oftentimes what we're actually good at really boils down to what we're okay with being bored at. A little bit of a sneaky one that often comes by is called the passive productivity trap. This one's really sneaky because you'll notice that it's not just self-help books, but also YouTube videos. They're all designed for the same thing. They're designed to make you feel productive by consuming that content, but not necessarily designed enough to actually getting you productive. It's like watching a YouTube video about getting off YouTube. It's a little bit, self-destructive. You're watching YouTube to be productive, and rather than actually taking those things into consideration and doing those things to be more productive, you're still on YouTube, right? And similarly, instead of just reading that book, you really should be trying to implement some of those strategies, but how can you do that without first reading the book? And the thing is, the book just makes you feel so productive already. There's this monumental gap in the implementation plan. The one big thing I mentioned from me in the past was that there's an actual effort that goes into implementing these things that often gets skipped because the books are designed to just get you through all this information and basically forget it. And that's kind of by design. They're designed to not really help you implement because you need another book to help you implement those strategies later on. So when you put it all together, it really does feel like these books are kind of built to fail us, and that's exactly what's happening, right? So it kind of does feel like, maybe being a little cynical, the goal of it is to make you feel like you're inspired just enough so that you get a little boost in your productivity or your day-to-day, but not enough that you have a monumental change in your life that leads you to making actual definite change. And the thing is that the fallout from this isn't just wasted time and money, though there's tons of money getting wasted on these books. It's that feeling of inadequacy that comes after a little while, right? After a while, you kind of feel like it just kind of never really clicked in your head, and you're wondering why you read all these self-help books and never really got anywhere. It almost does feel like real intentional change in your life is kind of just about as fake as those glossy covers that they come in. Blaming everything on these books isn't very fair. There are a lot of good ideas out there, Take, for example, Eat That Frog, which actually I've referenced several times during these videos. That book was genuinely useful. For some reason, it resonated with me more than other ones. And that's the thing, right? Sometimes a single concept just sticks with you because you resonate with it, but the rest kind of just turn into mush. So maybe the problem isn't the information itself, but rather the way we approach the books, because we're treating them as a regular book, kind of like the publisher's intention. Maybe what we needed was to treat this more like a map. The book is your map that's guiding you to something, but we just need to treat it differently enough so that we can reach the destination that we're looking for. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we're trying to ditch that perfect answer and that perfect methodology and just trying to figure out, how do I get from point A to point B? What was your reason for starting this book, and how do I actually get anything done? Now, of course, this idea isn't that fun, right? We kind of established that the opposite of passively reading these books often leads to a little bit more effort, and you're kind of gonna be taking a lot of notes and doing all these crazy things. It's not fun, and you're certainly not gonna get your money back from your book if it's a physical purchase, because you're probably scribbling all over it. If I had to boil it all down into a one-size-fits-all terminology, it's ultimately all gonna land on action, systems, and consistency. Let's take a little mini plan number one. Tiny actions is always gonna be better than big ones. And the reason is big actions are scary. We talked about this before in other contexts as well, because a tiny action is always like this precursor to doing bigger things. So stop trying to overhaul your life on chapter 7 and instead focus on a tinier step that just gets you started. Like maybe you just want to wake up earlier today. That's it. No other crazy morning routine nonsense. Just do that one piece and then you can move on to the next if you last a week. The next thing is kind of also related to another video we talked about how we need to build more boring systems. You need to have a system in place to get you through those really boring days, because boredom is ultimately the killer of a lot of these things. And dealing with boredom is what's going to actually send you to that next level that a lot of people can't. You don't want to wait until you feel like you're actually doing something. Build a structure around it immediately. Do you want to write a book? Well, it's not going to get done in a day, right? So instead, every single day for 15 minutes, schedule something on your calendar. It's going to be boring, it's going to be tedious, it's going to be hard. Some days you might not even write anything in that period, but that block is specifically for that and only that. And before you know it, you'll get better. And you're gonna write things that you actually like. But in the beginning, it's gonna be terrible, it's gonna be boring. But that system will get you through that. I want you guys to write in the comments below, what is one tiny system that you can build for yourself today that will get you to actually get a habit done? Chances are it's gonna be as simple as just scheduling something on your calendar for something super simple, like even just starting a workout routine. 1 push-up a day at 6 p.m. The other thing is, of course, consistency is gonna be a lot bigger than intensity. If you're consistent, it's gonna be a lot better than being really intense once and forgetting all about it, especially when it comes to working out, for example. It's not those giant, 110% days. It's about those 1% gains every single day, as long as you keep working at it. It's gonna keep building up, and eventually you're gonna end up the person that you're looking to be. See, the thing is, the self-help world really loves these giant leaps, and the thing is that they can be rewarding, but generally speaking, they're gonna be very, very short-lived. Instead, lower that bar all the way to the floor. Okay, now if all else fails, your final option really is pretty much to get an accountability partner. And we talked about this in another video as well, because it just works. Accountability partners really just boost your ability to do things, because it provides accountability, which for the human brain is extremely important. We want to fit in, and when we tell a group chat that we're going to do something and we actually don't follow through, it feels genuinely bad, and so it focuses your brain into figuring out, how do I actually do this? Just tell a trusted individual, coworkers, anybody really. Anyone that you know can hold you accountable to it, and that's enough. For me, kind of realizing this stuff was really eye-opening to me, because I always read these self-help books because I felt like, it was the most adult thing to do. It felt like I was adulting, And the problem is that I didn't really implement anything I learned, and to call it learning is really questionable at best. Now what I'm trying to do is focus on smaller habits. I take notes more often on my Kindle because it's so easy, But what I'm trying to also change is that rather than forgetting about those notes, I'm going to try to actually download those notes, read through them. I'm going to basically distill out what I like, put them on my calendar, and start actually implementing a lot of the things I always wanted to do. Not all of them are going to last, but if they're on my calendar, at least I try them to begin with. And the other thing is they'll consistently be tried until at one point they just become too much or they just need to be changed. So I guess the takeaway here is that you need to be a critical consumer, question the hype of these books, and actually value the action over just reading about the action. The reality is that oftentimes these people in the books, they had a very, very long time to actually hone that particular skill and get to the point where they can write the book. But they can't tell you about 20 years of progress. They're going to tell you about like 500 pages worth. So what did you guys think? Are you also trapped in this ever-growing paradise of books that always promise you a utopia, but you kind of end up nowhere, right? Let me know down in the comments, and of course, let's make it a habit of hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already, and of course, the like button's there just for you. And thanks for kind of going through this little rant video, but I hope this helps, and yeah, see you guys in the next video.